Oh, welcome to KimAppa.
Hi.
Everyone's here for this episode. Jared,
Yes.
Robbie, little Robbie Jr. She's come in straight from school. It's it's
Straight from
it's
school.
all
And I was
happening.
on the road, so I'm literally just seeing her now
Oh, did you
because
just come back?
yeah, I just came back from India, had some work there, so she hasn't seen me in a day and a half. Say hi to Jared, uncle. No.
um, uh, where were you? Where were you in India?
I was in south of India, Bangalore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, look at us. We're just just hanging out in India in different cities.
Yeah, I know. How was your trip to Delhi?
It was good. It's funny. I don't know how you feel about Delhi, but like before you go there, and even when you're there, every single person goes, "Hey, how you dealing with the air? How you dealing with
Yeah.
the air?" Right? And I was like, if no one had told me, I don't think I would have picked the difference between Delhi and other polluted cities. Like I'm not sure I was there going, it's a little bit more polluted than another subcontinental city or a lot of the Mexico City or wherever, right? Like there's a lot of cities that feel that way where you're just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to. So yeah, but the actual city, the food's incredible. I
Yeah,
never
food's
really spent a
great.
lot of
I'll
time in
tell you
Delhi
what,
before.
that's one of the nicer things about Delhi. The food's incredible. Um,
Can I
and
give you
people
a
are
nerd
generally
point that I liked about it?
Yeah, and to be very honest, I wouldn't be surprised if I actually missed something weather related because you're so obsessed with what you're going to do there and the cricket you're going to cover there. So you would have
Yeah,
missed a whole lot of
yeah.
stuff.
Air pollution's not my thing. I was just doing other things.
Yeah, it's not
My
your thing anyway.
the metro, the Delhi
Yeah,
metro is world class. Like I know you probably could never go on it because you'd be swamped, so
yeah,
cricketers probably don't use
yeah.
it. But I was shocked, mate, at how good it was. Like cleaner than most other metros I've ever been in other cities. And like I remember going to, I can't remember what station we were going to, but there was one station where you had to like jump over an open bit of rubbish pit. Right, and there's
Yeah.
flies everywhere, and I was like, "What's the metro going to be like?" And then I get up to the metro, and I was like, "Oh, hello, this is incredible.
That's
This is
good.
my scene." And we ended up the last day I was there. I traveled on the metro as much as possible just to enjoy a lovely thing. So no, I really liked it.
Nice.
Obviously, just every now and again you get the traffic crunch, right? Deepak was
Yeah.
driving me around and had an absolute fit. He's a man who does not like traffic. I can tell you this. I should have filmed him actually, Robbie. You would have
I
absolutely
wish
loved
you did.
it.
It would have been so much fun.
No, but it was great. We did the book festival, obviously, the Camera Sports Literature Festival, which went really well, and we
How
announced
was
my
that?
new book.
How did that go? Went
Yeah,
well
no,
for
it was
you?
great. It was great. I met the Palestinian athlete Suleiman and
Nice.
what's his name, Juan Sotomayor, the world record holder in high jump,
Yeah.
and some other
Yeah.
and lots of nerdy writers as well. But yeah, we got to announce our book at Delhi, the Coley book that's coming out. So it's all good, man. All good.
Nice. You met your clan. All you
Yeah,
nerdy writers, sports writers.
I would like to think I'm the king of the nerds, though.
That's why I said you met your clan. You can be anything in that.
We have managed to talk for 3 minutes and 31 seconds without you being asked, should Gautam Gambhir be fired?
Oh. Well, see, I like what Sunny Gavaskar said. Sunny Ji said, you can call for his head if you were calling for his extension when he won the Champions Trophy or the Asia Cup, right? Isn't it's yeah, and people need someone to blame this on. Yes, there have been a lot of things that I can understand where it comes from, where with what people are saying, with no steady batting order, a lot of changes, a lot of a lot of less specialists, a lot more all-rounders in the squad, and those are all very valid points, right? Um, and I think there needs to be a relook at how Test cricket is approached. There certainly is a valid point from that, and a lot of grievances that are coming from different people about his style of coaching. See, what's good is a lot of what Gothi is doing is working in white ball cricket. Does that mean that it'll also work in red ball cricket? Not necessarily, right? I definitely think you need specialists there. But I think one of the things that we're all missing is the fact that no one's really talking about the players and the ownership that players should take. Everyone's going after the coach and the records of the coach in the last, or the records of India at home over the last.
Is that a calling?
Yeah, I'm on that call right now. So if you cut me off, then I won't be able to hear. If you cut that off, then it'll get disconnected. Okay. So a lot of a lot of valid points are there about his style of or his the discrepancies that exists in Indian Test cricket at this point in time. But very little has been spoken about what the players are doing at this point in time and what they should have been doing, especially when it comes to playing Test cricket. And I think ownership needs to be taken a little bit more by the players at this point in time. People need to put their hands up and say, we need to do better. It's not about the coach. It's not about anything else, but we need to do better as well. We need to be able to defend well. We need to be able to grind out situations. We need to be able to play situations better and not just hit out. And I think those are deeper conversations that need to be had that aren't being had at this point in time. A lot of blame is being looked to be put on different aspects in different areas and to different people. But I think the one people who actually are in control in that situation are the players, and they are taking very little responsibility at the moment.
So it's quite an interesting one. I talked about this before, but Lawrence Booth once said to me that essentially if you look at most cricket media, all it really does is goes from who's the next person to be dropped, right?
Yeah.
And you can throw the coach in there or the chairman of selectors as well, to lose your job or dropped, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of bounce from that to that over and over again. And what that means is sometimes when someone is so much in the firing line, right? And Gautam Gambhir deserves to be in the firing line for many different reasons. But once someone's so in the firing line, it's kind of hard to notice everyone else, right? And so the truth is, India weren't making runs before Gautam Gambhir became coach. And they're not taking runs now. Now, there's other issues, as you said, that the selections and the game plans and everything else. But when it comes down to it, the old crop wasn't making runs. The young crop isn't making a lot of runs. The only time they really made good, normal amount of runs was on the very, very flat English wickets. And outside of that, they have struggled for a while to just make runs. This is not, that bit is not a Gautam Gambhir problem, even if a lot of the other things might be, related to him directly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think these are aspects and existential issues with the Indian cricket team that has been ailing them for the last couple of years. And these are things that, let's go 2 years back. And there was a whole score of people on the internet, so-called fans, analysts and all of that, speaking about how the senior pros aren't getting runs and you need to give the youngsters a chance, right? Now, fast forward 2 years and people saying, oh, you drop them too early and they should have still been playing, right? And you need specialists, you need experienced players in here, right? So you will find reactive kind of points of views here, but you need to be quite subjective when it comes to deciphering the whole thing here. You can't be objective about it. You need to go down to the nooks and crannies of what this issue actually is. Let's go back like when I was playing cricket, right? When I grew up playing cricket in India, first class cricket, and we're talking only red ball cricket, right? So let's focus on red ball cricket. So when I grew up playing cricket in India, and when I was coming up through the ranks, we played on good turning tracks. We played on good true wickets that seemed on the first day, that was really good for batting on the second day, and every evening, depending on where you played, it would swing around a little bit also as well. And then the third and fourth day of the Ranji Trophy, it would take turn. So you would have to develop your batting against spin. Now, cut to say 2010, 12 maybe, 10, 11. They moved to this mindset that, listen, we need to start doing well abroad. Maybe not even, maybe I've gone too far ahead. Maybe 2006, 7. I said we need to be able to do well abroad and win Test series abroad, because we're winning them at home. We're not winning them abroad. So let's make sure that we prepare good home conditions that help fast bowlers, so we can develop our fast bowling as well, so that they know how to bowl on fast bowling conditions, good fast bowling conditions, and the batters also get equipped to play well against fast bowlers. I think that's where there was a 1 degree error of judgment that today has made it look so bad. Right?
To be fair, though, that is why they were one of the best and sometimes the best team in the world, is because for the first time ever they did have fast bowlers. So, and New Zealand did a similar thing, right? New Zealand basically went away from their strengths and became their best team as well. But maybe the lesson here is, and I've always thought this, that one of England's biggest problems is how one-dimensional their pitches are. It's not particularly that England players shouldn't be playing on green wickets, right?
Correct. Let me finish my thought here, though, Chad.
So, go.
So that 1 degree of separation, and for me, and that's why I say it's 1 degree of separation, because there's a lot of good that's come out of it.
Yeah.
Fast bowlers, much more equipped batters against fast bowling and seam bowling in foreign conditions. All of that is good. But what they took away, which would affect us in the long term, was how Indians played against spin and on turning tracks, right? And then so India started doing well abroad, and when the WTC came around, right, the World Test Championship came around, you needed to win. Then it's not about how well you do at home or how well you do away. It's about getting to that World Test Championship finals, right, and trying to win that on a neutral venue, right? That's what it became about. Now, when that came around, then it is about. Oh, sorry. Let's go back before that. It's about winning a test mace, right? For the longest point till the World Test Championship came around, it was about winning the test mace. So you try and make sure you win all the home matches and win maybe a couple of away series and get the most number of points and win the test mace, right? Cut to what's happening today. That 1 degree of separation from back then and how people played against spin, whether it was India or abroad, over the last, say, 8-10 years, we started seeing Indian batters struggling to play against spin. Even the likes of an Ajinkya Rahane at times was found out against off spin, which according to Indians are the easiest bowlers to play. We milk them when it comes to red ball cricket, right? We don't allow them to settle down. We know that, okay, in a 4-day game or in a test match, it's against these guys that we get the most runs, right? So it started catching up with us and we didn't pay attention to it, right? We also had such good spinners who could exploit the conditions so well that we didn't need to score those many runs, because even if we scored 150, we knew that we could get the opposition out for 75, right? And we saw that happening a lot over the last, say, 8 years and 10 years in India, when India were playing test cricket in India. Matches getting over in 3 days and people were, calling, they were calling foul from all over the cricket world about, it's not being, these not spotting wickets and all of that. And then guys having to defend that we're playing in home conditions, we can play the way we want. One thing that went amiss at that point in time in all of those conversations is how badly we were playing against spin bowling. Even 6 years ago, even 8 years ago, we were not, and we, like this, the thing about, one basic thing about when you're playing on spin-friendly conditions, you want to play with your bat in front of your pad. If you watch this test match, and if you watch a lot of test matches before this, you will see that they're playing with the bat and pad together. When you're doing that, silly point short leg are in play, backward short leg is in play, LB caught behind and slip are in play. Everyone's really in play. And you want to be able to smother the ball, get on top of the ball and smother the ball. None of that's being done, right? Everyone's thinking about sweeping, reverse sweeping. And when you look at this generation, all of this whole team that's here in this side right now, everyone started playing cricket, say first class cricket, around 2010s to 2015s. So they have no idea. They've literally played first class cricket, have zero preparation as a first class cricketer as to how to play on spin conditions.
I mean, I agree with you, but having said that, it's the same thing should have happened to New Zealand. That they should have struggled on green pitches, right? And they didn't. I think what has happened is we have had a fundamental change in how to play spin.
Why should have New Zealand struggled on green pitches? Because that's their home conditions they play.
No, but it wasn't. They stopped having green pitches in first-class games, right? The only time they had green pitches was in test matches, right? They went to flat pitches at home, and they should have had the same problem. I think the fundamental change that has happened here, I'm not saying that what you're saying hasn't played a part. If you're trying to get better, you will know this more than anyone else. If you're trying to get better at one skill in cricket, chances are you're going to degrade another skill, right?
Yeah.
Because if
you're not paying attention to it.
Yeah, but even if you're paying attention, there's only so many hours in the day, right? Like at a certain point, if you're spending 5 hours a day getting better at spin, and you're spending 1 hour a day working on your pace game, there might be just a bit of a natural. Not for everyone. Some players can manage to do it, but I'm talking about over the whole group of cricketers, if that's the case. So there always should have been, if you're making more pitches in India pace dependent, there should have been a natural little bit of a come down against spin. But on top of that, what they did was they didn't do the kinds of wickets that New Zealand did in test matches, where New Zealand had greenish wickets that did a little bit, right? What they did was absolutely ragging ones. So if you're not playing as much spin at the top level, and you suddenly get to test cricket and the pitches are hardcore, right? That's a change. The other thing is that teams used to be stupid. Teams thought, I need to bring a spinner to India. They didn't think about what kind of spinner that was. They didn't think of, was it a spinner that matched Indian conditions, right? So when teams would go to England, we always heard about you need a swing bowler, right? You need an English style bowler. In India, and in the Indian style bowler was just a spinner, right? It was Gavin Robertson from Australia, right? Well, he's not an Indian style spinner. You and I both know that that's not the way that someone like that bowls, right?
Yeah.
And so teams are smarter. On top of all this, DRS has changed, and also it is more important to be a good sweeper in modern cricket than it was 5 or 10 years ago. Partly because of DRS, and also because bowlers bowl a lot quicker now, right? And the people who sweep the most usually come from New Zealand, South Africa, and England, right? They are natural sweeping countries. Australia's not a sweeping country. India's not a sweeping country, right? Pakistan is a sweeping country. You know, you go through different countries for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure why these ways have developed a little bit, but it's something we talk about in the book. Of you have a look and you can see the countries that like to use their feet, which Australia and India was like at the top of. And the other countries, it feels to me like it is better to be a sweeper now. Now, let's go back to your point about the Indian players sweeping too much. They're sweeping too much from a position of they have never swept until the last 5 or 6 years, right? The vast majority of Indian cricketers, it is not a natural shot to them. It's not a shot that they've ever needed to do. And suddenly this comes in.
Not
so you've
necessarily.
got
We've actually had to play the sweep quite a bit in first class cricket to be able to score
But the
runs.
test
Because
players-
the sweep is a run scoring shot, right? More than anything else.
Yeah, but test
on
players
turning
haven't been
tracks-
playing it. Have a look. And
Yeah, they haven't been playing. Why
if you
haven't
go
they-
through the
they-
data-
they've been playing it?
I promise you,
They
if you go through the data, India is always at the bottom of sweeps.
Correct, but why? Like it's
Because they didn't need to, because they were using their feet and could come down to the crease before spinners
Yeah,
got
but
quicker.
why didn't they need to? They didn't
Because-
need to because the conditions they didn't exist for them to actually need to.
No,
Like,
no,
if
exactly.
they were
That's what I'm
playing on
saying.
turning-
There's
Yeah.
probably a reason why Australians don't sweep as well, right? Australia's reason is probably because the ball bounces a little bit higher and people are afraid of getting top edges from sweeps more often. And in India, it's because the pitches are a little bit slower, and if you can use your feet, you can nullify much better than you can if you're actually staying in your crease. Whereas Pakistani wickets are different again, right? So you would have a different technique everywhere else. So my point being is that I think the whole game changed around India, and they haven't quite, and for whatever reason they've been caught napping a little bit. But I don't think this is anyone's fault. I don't think it's the fault of the people who made the pitches greener, because I think that was an overall net positive. And I also don't think it was a fault of the guys who suddenly decided to make the pitches rag more in India, because they were like, we've got Ashwin and Jadeja. As you said before, we're going to win most of these games anyway. But the combination of those two things has and also the fact that there isn't DRS in first class cricket, which means you do play spin probably slightly different because of that, right? Means that there is those three things I think are really, really important. And this comes back to what I was saying before. When West Indies took over world cricket, it's a really small thing that no one really talks about much but they had the most diverse wickets on earth in the West Indies, right? They had Guyana, which is basically an Asian wicket. They had Trinidad, which was like a different kind of Asian wicket. They had, Sabina Park, which the ball was popping through your head. They had seaming wickets in some places, right? They grew up having to learn how to play on all different kinds of wickets game after game. And then they toured England, which was green. They toured Australia, which had bounce. So by the time they had actually got to the top level of cricket, they were at a completely different level. That is, again, the sort of thing of like, if you make your wickets at home monoculture, right, you also give other problems, which is, I think, what you're saying.
And that is the whole thing, right? My whole problem with first class cricket in India has always been, Jair, that we have such diverse conditions across the country, and we're not utilizing those conditions. We're making a one-size-fits-all kind of wicket everywhere, right? Like the north of India in the winters generally seams around quite a bit. So you can prepare green tops there, the black soil wickets predominantly, so you can get the ball to seam around a little bit. And that northern to, central, like northwestern side. Then you come to the west of India, it's all like not west of India, but northwest of India to central India are all brown soil wickets and maybe some black soil wickets. There's a mixture of that. You go to the east of India, that's all black soil wickets, right? And you come to the western Ghats, are all red soil wickets, right? You come to the south of India, it's all red soil and like a sometimes combination of it. And you start going up from the southeastern part of India, then they start going a mixture of red and black, and then they go up and they become black, and then the eastern side of India is all black soil wickets. We've got such diverse conditions, but they have just not utilized this well. It's just been taken for granted. And if the preparation for Ranji Trophy shifts by 5 degrees, and prepare wickets based on the conditions, so that you get every team to play on in at least, because there are eight first class matches every year. Get them to play in five
That's
different
the point.
conditions or four different conditions.
I think if you
Right.
were, this is one of those things of if you are setting up Indian cricket right now, and this isn't just an Indian problem. This is right across all cricket. If you were setting up first class cricket now, you wouldn't set it up the way it currently exists at all.
No.
Right? You would do.
And the unfortunate thing is, cricketers are not the ones who's setting this up. It's just
Yeah.
administrators actually doing this. If you actually have the understanding, the expertise of cricketers who've played for a really long time, you'll actually be able to develop cricket even more. And that's, I think, one of the banes of Indian cricket. Because of the IPL, there's so much talent that's thrown at your face as viewers and consumers of the sport, that you feel like you don't need to do anything to develop talent in India anymore. Right?
Yeah.
Which I think is a misnomer. I think
Yeah.
you actually have to do a lot more to develop talent. Like today, even the guys playing, like this has been like a perennial thing that's bothered me about Indian cricket, right? There are guys who have been picked for Test cricket on the backs of IPL performances, right? And I felt really bad about that when I was playing, because you work my ass off to score runs in domestic cricket just to get that Test cap, but that never happened. And there'd be guys who'd get picked ahead of me based on white ball performances, right? Yes, there are a few that you can really back with talent. Like I understand Nitish Kumar Reddy's selection, right? He hasn't really done much in first class cricket, but here comes an all-rounder from India who can bowl fast and bat well as well. And that in India is come very few and far in between. Right, you get a few players in the generation, so you want to fast track him. You want to give him the opportunity at the highest level. You want to nurture that talent and see if that can be developed into something over a period of time. A lot like what was done with Jadeja, right? He probably wasn't ready for Test cricket, but Mahi persisted with him. Dhoni persisted with him for a certain period of time, and credit to Jadeja that he developed himself into a dangerous bowler in the Test cricket format. So I understand a few players, a few and far in between, but not everyone. Like they really have to earn their stripes. Like I feel guys like, say today when I look at guys who can play in this Indian team, who've actually earned their stripes in Test cricket or in first class cricket, would be Abhimanyu Ishwaran, a Karun Nair, a Sarfaraz Khan, an N. Jagadisan. These are guys who have actually earned their stripe, who've done well repeatedly over and over again in first class cricket, but they haven't gotten an opportunity. They've been in the fringe, but they probably don't have the personality that suits Indian cricket, so they've been kind of left out.
I think again though, that's not just an Indian problem, is it? That's modern cricket problem, which is
That's a modern cricket problem.
most selectors now, even if they're watching first class cricket, are watching whatever the T20 franchise is in their country. They're probably watching the IPL, right, as well. And they're probably following if some guy is the top scorer in another league, right, as well. So there's not much you can do about that, I think. That's to do with perspectives and biases. And also, you and I both know that, like, watching someone like Sai Sudarshan, we might go back to his first class record and be like, it's not as good as we would like. But we can tell that there are signs that he also could be a Test cricketer within what we have
100%.
seen, even in T20 cricket.
100%.
And so you don't want to throw him away because he hasn't he's not averaging 55 in first class cricket. But you also don't want to just pick Sai Sudarshan's, because it doesn't actually help your first class competition either, because everyone's sitting there going, well, wait a minute, like I'm not, it doesn't really matter anymore. So, I think it goes in both directions. Here's the thing. I just want to talk about Gambhir a little bit here. I know that you
before we get to Gambhir, can we speak about a couple more things? Because there are things that have been burning
you
in
can.
my
It's
head
your
for a
show,
while.
Robbie.
So, what I want to talk about, the other thing I want to talk about is, how one is test centers in India, which is a need of the hour today. If after
You
this,
talked about that
after
last week,
hitting
didn't you?
Yeah. If after hitting rock bottom, if BCCI can't come up with 5 to 7 test centers that they play on, like, yes, we understand there are a lot of test grounds in India and there's a lot of history there. So pick your top 7 and stick to those top 7 or top 8 and say this is where test cricket's going to be
bigger
played.
grounds, smaller grounds? Are you looking
Doesn't
at...
matter.
You
Like
don't
for
care.
me,
You
it's
just
about
want to know they're going to play there every time.
Correct. That's it.
okay.
It does not matter. I'm completely agnostic about which venues they should be.
Gotcha.
It should just be venues that are beneficial, that have a home advantage for the Indian team, right? And they can change it every 2 years. Every cycle, they can change it if they want and say that this cycle or for the next 5 years, these are our test venues. And then go change it in 5 years again. So then the players know what to expect over there. They know how to prepare for that. So even with a busy schedule, they will be able to prepare for those conditions. They know how it works there. So they kind of alter their preparation based on them playing in those venues. So they know what preparation's like for them. Because preparation's half the battle, right? Like people gave me such a hard time when I said foreign teams should not be allowed to come here and practice on our conditions for free. Like when New Zealand came here, I said, listen, I don't think this is right. It takes away a lot of the home advantage. You should not be allowing foreign teams, whether they play for your franchise or not, you shouldn't be allowing foreign teams to come and practice on our conditions, because our boys don't even get that time because they're playing so much cricket. Like it's like literally like one tournament to the other and they barely have any gap. They don't have time for preparations. And here we are giving away our conditions to foreign teams and like literally saying, here, take a home advantage on a platter. Right? And I got flocked for that, and it's fine, right? I understand where people come from and all of that, and it's okay when you think you're dominating. You need to have the foresight that to say that, hey, if this goes sour, if this goes south, then this is going to be one of the issues. The why it goes south, right? It's not like if we go a month before to Australia or New Zealand to prepare for a test series, that we're going to get really good wickets to practice on that are going to be very similar to the conditions that are going to come up in the test matches, right? We today will have to, as a team, as a like a cricket board, we'll have to buy those things, right? Like, why are we giving them away for free? Why are we giving those advantages away?
But teams do get tour games in other countries. That is part of the bilateral deal.
If they have the time, right? It is correct. It's a part of the deal. But if they have the time, right? A lot of the times, I'm telling you, I've been part of India tours and bilateral series where we've gone there and we know that the wickets we're practicing on or playing practice matches on are just completely opposite from what we're going to get.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, it's happening to England at the moment, right? They were supposed to be practicing in Canberra, which is not the place you really want to practice a day-night game anyway. And also it's a completely different pitch to Brisbane. But again...
And that is how home teams hold advantage at home conditions. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to look at how hospitable you've been to the visiting team. They're always going to look at the score line. That's what's going to matter.
But we've got to be careful. We don't want to be in a situation where, like, there's no point anyone ever playing tour games anymore, is there? Because, I mean...
No, the tour games do, like, so that's where India A and the A series matter the most.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? That's where you have a separate calendar for A cricket through the year. Right? To develop talent from around the world. Right? You have a whole A series. So, so all first-class cricketers from around the world know if we do well in and this should be an ICC initiative where if first-class cricketers have done well in first-class cricket, then they know the next step of progress, especially with red ball cricket, goes into the A squads, and you go to the A squads, you have your own calendar there, which is completely like for the next 1 year, you're only playing A cricket and developing your game to play international cricket.
I wrote about this in 2008. It's ridiculous that England, Australia, and India did not get together and just do this.
Now,
it's so silly.
Like, you can take the top 5 teams right now, right? India being the 5th team at this point in time in this current cycle, saying that, hey, let the top 5 teams conduct, like, I do this across the board for all I care, for all you care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Do it across.
They could play against the associate teams, right? As well.
Yeah. Play against them and play in different conditions, right? Play in your own conditions and develop that cricket. So the likes of Ruturaj Gaikwad, Sarfaraz Khan, N. Jagadisan, Sai Sudarshan, all of these guys are playing A cricket, and that keeps them motivated. So they've stepped up from their first-class cricket, and that keeps them motivated to keep improving their game to go on to play Test cricket. Like an Abhimanyu Ishwaran, all of these. Abhimanyu's played so much A cricket that he should be given a. And India is struggling with a number 3. Your number 3 in the last 6 years, what averages 25, something like that.
Is it that low? Is it?
It's very, very bad. I think we're one of the worst in all of the test teams.
Well, to be fair, everyone's number 3 is averaging low. So, you know, 25 is still pretty poor.
Yeah, so I think you really want the likes of an Abhimanyu Ishwaran who's been there, done that, earned his stripes, to get an opportunity to see, hey, let's see what you're all about at the highest level, right? So for me, I think these are the aspects that are not discussed in the whole thing. If we are discussing it, let's discuss the important things that will matter to, say, Indian cricket or Test cricket over a period of 10 years. Like, how can we keep this going and interesting and keep Test cricket alive over a period of 10 years?
I think that's the thing that we really haven't seen enough of, which is that sort of 5 to 20 year plan of how, and you know, Australia had a little bit of it when the academies first started. Then everyone just sort of copied the academies, but we can go a lot further with all that. I've never understood why Australia and England don't just set up an academy in Sri Lanka and say to Sri Lankans, you can use it as much as you want, right? And we can swap over players. You can bring players over to Australia, but we want the Sri Lankan conditions available to us whenever we want them to. Because you and I both know if you do that in Dubai, that costs the ECB or Cricket Australia quite a lot of money. It doesn't. They could do the state of the art facilities in Sri Lanka. You have it down in Gaul if you want to, wherever you want to have it. The players are going to love being on the beach all the time.
That becomes country specific, no? Like that becomes completely country. Like I'm saying, do it from
No, but I'm
overall
saying
cricket development place.
You are right, but what I'm saying is, what's the point of so Australian cricketers should, like, if you're just thinking about this from an Australian point of view, and you probably maybe South African cricketers in there as well, when they're not playing for their country, and if you don't have this A tour going on, which I would say is the better option, but why not just have them in Sri Lanka for 2 or 3 months of the year? Right?
Yeah.
It's country specific, but it's not that country specific in that you're learning a lot of skills that you wouldn't normally be learning. The other complication with both of our ideas, of course, now is T20 franchise leagues, because a lot of players outside of India, doesn't matter as much inside India, but a lot of players outside of India are just not, they don't want to play A cricket. Like Liam Dawson was basically saying to England, I will play for the national team. I don't want to sit on the bench and I don't want to play A cricket, which is fair enough because these are his peak earning years, right? So there are complications.
And that's a personal choice, right? See, and you need to give the players the autonomy to have control over their own narrative and their own career, right? Which cricketers have very little of at this point in time, right? At least in India. And right now, I know that foreigners have a lot more autonomy over their own careers than the Indian cricketers have. It can be pretty restrictive as far as Indian cricketers are concerned.
It's really tough if you're Indian, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
So it's the one thing we don't talk about enough is like, they obviously get paid more than everyone else, but the conditions are way different than everyone else as well. Like there is that. Okay, I want to talk about Gambia for a little bit because as normal,
let's get
you've
into
done
that.
everything you can not to. This is not
Oh,
like
no.
no, I was joking. This is not. I don't want to go down the route that that everyone else will go down, obviously. But what I do want to say is this: the more I've watched the last maybe year with this side, it does look like you're watching a man learning how to coach, right? When you pick someone who is not a coach beforehand, experience in other parts of cricket, playing and managing and everything else, you and I both know that a coach specifically is a different role. And coaching one person or two people, which you often do, obviously in your kind of position, and coaching 15, 20 people is again a very different thing. And there are natural born coaches. There are coaches who never really handle the team dynamic perfectly. I've watched as much as I can. I've gone back and had a look at this. It looks to me like a team that just needs a strong leader to pull them in and to start again. And he hasn't been able to do that because he's never been in this position before as a coach. Like he hasn't gone through this particular kind of trough, right? And that's a hard thing to learn. And he's learning it in front of very, very angry fans.
Yeah, that is true. It's not going to be easy for Gigi. I think it's something that he will have to actually endure, and he will have to learn. And like it seems like life's pushed him to a point where he can't. There's no way moving forward without addressing this, right? He has to learn. Like he has to figure out a way to be inspirational to his team without having the luxury of just saying something motivational, right? It's by actually being able to do stuff that develops these players and gives them the confidence and be clear with what he's communicating with them, and his words so his actions should match his words for a period of time. Because today when you look at this side, there's a lot that the players need to do, but there's a lot that needs to be done to rally this team together as well. Right? He needs to be able to rally the senior players, get them into confidence, and be able to say the right things to the players at all points over a period of time to develop this side. Yes, this team is in a transitional stage, but it needs to be navigated through in a way that's constructive, in a way that is clear and precise, and with not a lot of changes. Clearly, what is working for him in white ball cricket is not working in red ball cricket. The constant changing of the batting order is not working, and one can understand why he's gone that route, right? That's worked for him in white ball cricket, so he thinks that should work in red ball cricket, but that's not the case. anyone who's ever held a bat today is saying, hey, we need specialists to play this. And it's quite sad to see the likes of people who have not played a lick of representational cricket saying this kind of stuff and saying things about Gauti. And it's like, whether it's Gauti or anybody else, right? You feel bad that people are taking, like, and I felt this even when people are going after Rahul back when he was the coach, right? At a point when they were going after him, like, guys, like, here's a guy who's done something incredible at the international level. He's doing another role right now. Yes, I understand your expectations of him are high, but sometimes you need to cut them some slack and say, okay, this is not working. What needs to be done right now? We can go off on rants for sure, but we need to be constructive in what is being suggested as well, right? We can go off about what are the things that have been done wrong, but that's not going to change what's going to come from this point forward. I think if we can have a lot more conversations as to what needs to be done from here moving forward, then that would be more constructive of a conversation to have. And then that probably will give in that, if that probably reaches their ears, if it does, then it becomes an idea that they can work with.
So Sharon said, well done to Robbie. It doesn't seem to say. Great fan of the show, Jared. I'll take that as well. How fair is it to blame a coach when such a defeat happens, right? And the truth is that no, Robbie can't answer this, and I can't answer this, and no human can answer this, because when you lose a game, there are so many different things at play. The toss, obviously, the fact that they were in the field, the fact that the bowlers didn't take the wickets when they probably should have bowled South Africa out for about 380, 400 rather than being out there for so much longer. You know, all these little things. But at a certain point, it does not feel at the moment like this is a cohesive team that understands exactly their role clarity, right? Now, I don't think that's an issue of moving the batting order around as much as other people do.
Sure.
What I mean is, just don't think anyone is actually feeling all that confident with what they are supposed to be doing. And Gautam Gambhir is trying something that is not currently working, and he doesn't know how to pull this back either.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think you've hit it bang on, buddy. I think the fact that they're trying things and they're not sure if it'll work or not is one of the perennial issues of this squad at this point in time. And you can tell when you look at this squad, even while watching it on television, that they're not a cohesive unit yet. Like, they're a work in progress. They're still finding their feet. There's a lot of insecurity about their own spot, if they're going to be there in the next test match or not, and which position they're going to be playing in the next test match or not. And you saw that in the past as well, but the players that played, or the generation of players that played in that team, were quite different to this team, and this team knows, or these group of players know to play cricket a certain way. They haven't experienced playing cricket in another way, and that needs to be developed into them. And I think this team needs a lot more consistency and a lot more surety, and I think Gautam and Shubman are the ones who can provide this for this team, right? And they need to be absolutely clear.
I'm just bringing up a couple of super chats because they sort of fit into this thing. So
Yeah,
Siddharth's
absolutely.
come up with a good one here. It says, why isn't Gambia's tactical style given time? Isn't it logical that developing true all-rounders like Jadeja naturally needs patience and a longer runway? There is no doubt about that. But Siddharth, welcome to the modern world, right? Welcome to the modern world. If you don't win, this is what happens, right? And you know, I did a podcast with Bumble, and he was talking about Alex Ferguson, right? And he was basically saying, Alex Ferguson was like, we could try this, we could try this, and we could try this, but we could try it if we're winning. If we get to a point where we start to lose, all the pressure comes back onto us, and that is what you were seeing. So Siddharth, you might actually be right. What he's doing at the moment might be laying the foundations for domination for India in the future. But that doesn't stop that they're losing now, and people are always going to react to that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? India has never had to develop both the batting and the bowling of a test squad simultaneously.
Not in a very long time, right? In a very long time.
In a very long time, right? So it was either your bowling was all sorted, and then you were developing your batting, you're transitioning your batting, or the batting was sorted and you were transitioning your bowling. Here, everything is happening simultaneously, and that's why it's come to head, right? And it's like, okay, why has this got here is what we discussed the last 45 minutes, right? What needs to be done right now, and what would have been easier for a team to do right now, a team like India, is to have the wins at home to make these changes happen, right? It does take time. Like even say the likes of a Jadeja being persisted with in the in test cricket happened because it was one spot where the batting and the bowling were firing anyway. He was playing a filler's role. It is over a period of time that he became a main weapon in the armory of both batting and bowling. It took him time to develop into that player, right? And that's how over a period of time you develop Jaddu as an all-rounder, right? And you're right, Sid. You need time to develop these players. It's not like the likes of a Nitish Kumar Reddy or a Washi Sundar won't become what Jaddu has become. But they need to spend time there, and they need to proactively, in their own heads and in their minds, as standards for their own cricket, develop themselves into that kind of a player. So for them, they got to go back and play every Ranji Trophy match, bowl 20 overs, 25 overs each, and bat at a top order or middle order position and score runs as well. So they need to value first class cricket or A cricket like their life depends on it. So that they fast track into today's modern world test cricket, where people are less patient with results coming through.
But the other thing that's worth mentioning is that he's kind of the way that he's putting this team together is essentially he is doubling down on that one idea of all rounders, right? So it means that if you go back to when they had Jadeja in the side, you have Jadeja, and he still is good enough for the ball to be able to hang in for you, and then you have still a very strong batting right around that to be able to carry that. When you've got two all rounders in the side, you now have two guys who are developing, and that means that you're not quite as strong. Now we understand why he's doing it, right? But you know, you look at Naveen's point here. It says, does India have a transition plan? I think Gautam Gambhir had the most obvious plan of all time. He obviously loves his left hand, right hand. He likes flexible batting orders, and he wanted as many all-rounders as possible. I think you might have said it before, Robbie, that he took what was working for him in white ball, and he tried to make it work in red ball. This is the thing that no one wants to hear in India at the moment. This plan might still be right. Right? Like you go back to Bazball, if you flip Bazball around and England lost that series, the second series against South Africa, right? When Dean Elgar got the toss wrong or whatever. Bazball might have been dead almost straight away, right? It could have, and the issue with what's happening here is because they're losing, what could be a very good long-term plan is also not working. But I think the key point that Naveen makes here is that lack of role clarity. They don't know, some of these guys don't know if they're going to bowl at all. They don't know exactly what their job is as bowlers, and it's very similar with the batting.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think when you look at this Indian team, I don't know if the communication between the leadership group is all clear, is all straightforward in that sense, because also they're also developing a relationship. They're also figuring out how to operate as a unit, as a leadership unit, right? That also takes a little bit of time. Like before this, then it was Rohit and Virat and Ashwin and Gautam, and before that there was Rahul Dravid. Before that there was there was Ravi Shastri, and there was a lot more. I think and they were also different, much more settled teams, right? Much more settled players, and the coaches came in.
The senior player in this side is KL Rahul, who all Indian fans wanted dropped for about 3 years, right? And he's now the old senior pro in that side, right? Like that's a huge change from Pujara, Rahane, Ashwin, Kohli, Sharma. Like that's such a big change.
Yeah, and it's almost like for someone like Rahul, given how great he is and how good he is as a player, it's almost like this has just been thrust upon him. It's not like it's come through a medium of, like today, what is the average in test cricket? Like he's mid-30s at this point in time?
I would assume so. It might have gone up to 36.
When the senior batter role comes in for, say, an Ajinkya Rahane or a Pujara, it's come to them on the back of them scoring consistently in test cricket for a long period of time, and they're averaging 45, 50, right? It's come on the back of that. So the feel also of that, the energy of that is also very different. And Rahul's as in for whatever reason, KL has had to work through his inconsistencies in this test squad, and his moving positions in this test squad. For me, the fact that he's actually stacked up even that kind of these kind of numbers, given how much he's been changed around, itself is phenomenal, right? He's had to endure a lot within Test cricket, but doesn't leave him in a position of strength, if you know what I mean. Even as a senior pro, it leaves him in a position of weakness, and which is why him performing for his own spot, even though he's a senior pro, is important for him.
No, exactly.
Like for his own cricket.
Exactly, because he's only a couple of failures away from being under pressure again, and so he's
Like
going
I'm telling
to
you,
know
like
that.
people like it. One more series of him playing this middling series, like he's had this one. This one's been a poor one, but one more of this, and then they'll run out of patience with him.
Exactly, and so he knows that, and so he's trying to be the senior person there. He's had his own issues with leadership and everything in the IPL, so there's already the preconceived ideas of him. It's really, really tricky. So there you have it, the Gautam Gambhir special. Until we get to the super chats, when we're asked about him all over again. But I wanted to ask you about Travis Head. Did you see much of the innings? Did you feel the innings? Did you live the innings?
Yes, I did. I watched
So
it. It was mad. It was an insane innings. But one of the things that baffled me was how come did not one of the English fast bowlers, when he was backing away and trying to swat every ball, when they had fielders all over, why didn't anyone bowl a slow ball outside the off stump?
I
There's
don't.
not one
I've seen.
slower
I've just been rewatching
There
it
was
on
not
MV
one
Play.
slower delivery at all.
I reckon. Did Atkinson bowl a slow ball bouncer at one point? Maybe he didn't actually. Maybe he just got caught in his hand a little bit. Yeah, but the thing is, Robbie, how many plans they actually tried in like a 35 ball period without him actually being Travis Head? It wasn't like he was just hitting fours and sixes everywhere, and they just panicked, and they would go with a new plan for about 3 balls. I've got a video coming out on this very
put
soon.
it up. I love it. Yeah, let's go.
It's so fascinating
Oh,
how
you
quickly.
mean you've made a video about this? Okay, I thought you were putting up a video right now.
No.
So
I haven't got
excited.
one here now. Sorry, I haven't quite finished it anyway. But it's really fascinating to watch how many different plans they would go through, right? And how they didn't give any of them any time. The first innings plan they didn't have. The other thing, and this is the thing I'm really interested from your perspective on, is when he comes out to bat in the first innings, they're what? 30 for 3 after 16 overs, right? So Australia's in shambles at this point. They can't score and they've lost their top 3, right? And he comes out to bat with 2 slips. Now, I know it's Travis Head, but there is sideways movement. The batters are looking uncomfortable. England's already struggled a little bit on that ground. There is an element that England, and I've seen India do this with Travis Head as well, is they can't get out of their head they're bowling through Travis Head, which I understand. But when you first start to a batter, you have to put some kind of pressure on them. You can't just spread the field out, right? Because he does get edges through third and fourth slip a lot, right?
Time, yeah.
And they don't have
Initially,
any fielders there because they're terrified of it. I'm like, I get it once he's going, but if he's not going, don't put the fielders out. And I remember with you know, Sanjay Surya, Vrinder Sehwag, Adam Gilchrist, same pattern, right? Teams weren't playing them on that day; they were playing them on the previous innings so much.
Yeah.
And I just wondered if, you know, were there teams that you know, sometimes you were in a team where you realized that you probably just allowed the other player to get going because of this sort of stuff? And how much does the previous innings affect your field placements from ball one?
I think more than the previous innings, it's the reputation, right? A lot of times you play the reputation not the player on that particular day. Yes, he's great. He's a great player and all of that. But how good is he today? How is he going to turn up today? And I think if see, it's easier said than done at that level. But if captains and leaders and teams and bowlers can operate from that point of view, especially when you're going up against gun batters, right? Or you're going up against gun bowlers, right? Everyone's going to have, like, come on, cricket's a sport where you fail a lot more than you succeed, right? So, like, even the great ones know how to capitalize on those successful days that make them great, right? And so you want to give yourself that chance and believe in from that, kind of even manifest it perhaps. Say, okay, he's a great player, but is he going to be as great today? I'm going to try and make sure he's not. Let me put pressure on him. Where are his points of weaknesses? Let me attack that and let me be disciplined with that. Right? And the patience. And I think one of the perennial issues of the generation of cricketers that exist today is that they're not patient enough to try things long enough to see results from it. Right? Sometimes it takes time to build stuff. And I think even as viewers, we're not, patient enough to let something develop into what it can potentially be. And even with plans on the field, like even teams, they're not willing to try stuff long enough to actually see them come to fruition.
It's a fascinating one because we keep going on and on about Every time there's a low score, we blame the lack of patience of the batters because of T20 cricket, right? And yet, why aren't the bowlers having a lack of patience? Why aren't the fielding captains having a lack of patience? There's a lack of patience right across the world, right? It's not this is not a cricket thing.
Not a cricket
this is just the way that things move quicker, and so we move. I remember, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been Darren Goff or Steve Harmison. We were talking to one of them was talking about the fact is they were worried that Ben Stokes won't have the patience that you need to captain in Australia, right? So, I wanted to do this big piece for the Oval Test, which sadly Stokes didn't end up playing in. But I wanted to do a big piece on how many times he moves the field, because him moving the field has become like this thing of like, oh, look what a genius he is. But if you actually have a look at how often he moves the field, it obviously causes some issues for the batters. I mean, you and I talked about that in the summer. But also, if you're a bowler, like, wait, I have no one on the leg side now. Right? Wait, I have no slips and I have 3 short covers. How is this happening? And then on top of that, they're cycling through their plans so quickly. Ben Stokes is a tactical genius, but he's also a ball follower. And both of these things are true. And so sometimes he almost overcomplicates things. We've just seen Scott Boland bowl with an older ball and seam the ball sideways. Travis Head is not expecting to open in this test match and is now opening the batting. Let's see how he goes against good old-fashioned length bowling for a minute. And if you have a look, it wasn't like he was 20 off 12 balls or something. He was 16 off 20, and almost all of his early boundaries were from England veering away from their plan and looking for a magic ball and him cashing in. His batting is not risky early on. The stuff where he starts to back away and does all that fancy stuff is when he's like 60, 70, 80, right?
Yeah, post 50, yeah.
Yeah, this is not Travis. And if you go back, and I most fans won't remember this, right? And most cricket people won't remember this just because you watch it in the moment and it feels like, oh my God, look, he's made 100 off, no balls at all. But when you go back and you have a look at it step by step, Travis Head didn't come out playing big shots to begin with. He looked a little bit nervous. He wasn't quite sure what his role was at that point. He wasn't sure how much to do. It wasn't like a T20 Travis Head. And yet England were bowling to him like it was T20 Travis Head. And it's fascinating to me to watch a team just be like, we're so worried about this guy that we're going to do this.
Did they almost force him to play baseball with the way they bowled at him?
I mean, I think he was sent out to play baseball, wasn't he? And then I don't think he was in great form when.
I think wasn't he sent out to open the batting simply because of Usman's back?
Yeah, but they could have sent out Marnus like they did in the first innings. It's a choice to use Head. It was an attacking choice. It was there. Yeah. Apparently, they've been talking about it for a while. I think that's the sort of thing that maybe doesn't happen if Cummins is captain, but with Smith as captain, they'll use that. But I think he was sent out. I just don't think he was in good form. In the first innings, he made 20,
didn't look like
and he was scratchy.
In the first innings.
Yeah,
he was quite scratchy.
So again, this is my point of. I remember there was a great conversation in an NBA game a few years ago about the Golden State Warriors were playing Denver, and Steve Kerr, the coach, kept saying to Draymond Green, "Stop defending Nikola Jokic on the 3-point line because he's shooting really bad at the moment, right? And you don't need to do that." And Draymond in his head was like, "Yeah, but he's a great 3-point shooter." And so I have to rush to him because eventually he'll hit them. And Steve Kerr's like, "I agree. Wait for him to hit some, and then we will change our defense.
Then you start,
Don't do it beforehand because they don't want you to be in the paint, Draymond. They want to stretch you out to the 3-point line." Yeah. And that's one of the and there's no right answers because in this case, everything I'm saying could be right. And England could have gone in with 4 slips and a short leg, which I think is a really good field against Travis Head when he's not in form. And he could have smashed 3 over third man, 1 over cover, and 2 over mid wicket, and I would look like an idiot. But I just think that you have to put yourself in the best position in each individual situation. And as you said before, it's really hard because you are playing the man sometimes, right? Especially now, I think more so than ever, we have individual plans for each batter. And I think that England just rushed to them rather than just go, wait a minute. Wasn't Scott Boland seaming the ball sideways? Let's just see if we can get any of that lateral movement first, and let's just attack the top of his off stump where he's a little bit weak, and then we will go to plan B and C when we need it. But they don't really have that gear. Everyone talks about their lack of patience with batting. Their lack of patience with bowling also cost them this game.
100%. And I think, you know what it's going to do? It's going to have such a huge dent in their confidence when they go into that second match. Because they were like, okay, now what do we do? Because they seem so hapless at the back end. They had Marnus, who is, again, not necessarily in the best form in Test cricket, actually moving around and scoring runs like Travis Head. Like
Yeah.
he felt like he started imitating Travis Head in the end, right? And doing the same things that Travis was doing, just backing away. And they were just following him. I'm like, guys, just like, why isn't one bowler here trying the slower ball to one of these batters? Just tossing a floated slower ball outside the off stump and he's backed away so much. If he's going to back away so much, then he's gonna try something.
Do you know what's funny about that is I remember when Bazball first started, of watching the New Zealanders specifically, like not realize they were in a one-day game, right?
Yeah.
And they kept bowling test lengths, and I was like, no, guys, they've turned this on you. You need to you need to start bowling one day or T20 style now, right? You need to start thinking about this differently. And it's it's a tough mental thing to be able to go through. Just on them, and then we'll talk about South Africa, because I've got a specific South Africa question I want to ask you as well. But just on that, so I think Australia have lost 12 Test series in the history of cricket when they've been at home and they've won the first Test match. Most of those come before World War One. So since World War One, they really haven't lost many. They've lost a couple to India. They lost one to England, I think, in the 1950s. Well, they won the first Test by an innings at 150 runs and somehow lost the series. That's a hell of a comeback. But it doesn't happen that much. And one of the reasons is, and you've played cricket there, it's like Australia just slowly collapses onto you once Australia get in front, right? The parochial side of things, when it's even, I don't think bothers anyone. But once Australia gets on top, it's almost like it collapses. And Australia are, we talk about how dominant they are and how they're great fighters and everything. They are the world's best front runners, right? Once they get in front, they know exactly what to do in a way that, that other teams just throughout the history of cricket haven't shown that skill, right? Of being able to do that. It's going to be really tough for England from here, right?
Yeah, so right now they are behind the 8 ball and then some, right? Today, I think Australia is one of the most dangerous sides to give advantage to in the course of a series or a championship.
Yeah.
They are a dangerous side because once they've got the driver's seat, they're not giving that away to anyone. You got to really fight for that. You really need to earn that back, right? I remember in the 2023 Ashes, and I watched the series that ECB put up on YouTube recently, and I saw how hard it was for England and in their own backyard.
Yeah.
Now for them to be in Australia, going one down into the second Test match, that was a pink ball Test match where Australia generally thrive and their confidence is really high. It's going to be a Herculean task to win from here. It's not impossible, but it's going to be really, really hard. They'll need everyone to rally together. They need people to just keep them in order, keep them disciplined, and make them believe that they need to do certain things a certain way for them to have success. Because a confident Australian side is a very hard side to beat.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. Just on South Africa, we talked a lot about them last week about whether they were the best Test side in the world. I've got another one for you on South Africa. Is this the greatest era of South African cricket we've ever seen, especially when factoring in red ball, white ball, men's and women's cricket?
Yeah, you could say so. I think it is arguably, from a results point of view, one of the best South African sides to have ever played. And you got to give it to the players, yeah. No, not really superstars, but everyone standing up.
I think that's interesting. I talked to CS, who works with us as well, and he was sort of saying one of the more interesting things is it's not a superstar side. And if you go back to when they won the Champions Trophy, it wasn't a superstar side. And if you go to the women's success at the moment, they lost a lot of their superstars and actually got better. There's something quite weird about South African cricket that when they sort of lose stars, they manage to, everyone steps up in a way that you don't necessarily expect. So I went through 2006 to 2014, incredible in Test cricket, 27 series, and I think they have 2 losses in that time, right? But they're not particularly good at one-day cricket at all in that period, and their women's side basically doesn't exist. 94 to 2000, they draw 2 series against Australia. They go really, really well in Test cricket. They make the final of the semi-final of the 99 World Cup, which they should have made the final, and they probably should have won that tournament. They win 2 tournaments in 98, which is the Commonwealth Games and the Champions Trophy. Lesser tournaments, but still. And the women make the 2000 semi-finals of the World Cup. That's a really good era, but that's almost defined by the fact that they bottled it in 96 and they bottled it in 99, and Australia eventually just gear past them, right? So even if that was a good era, it's not like now. And you go back through the other periods of history, like before apartheid, they just had like little like camera flashes of moments. They weren't really. I don't know how many people know this, but until World War II, they weren't really a frontline test team. They were struggling for a long time, and then they don't really get good until the late '60s. And that's the team that obviously could have gone on to be the first great team. So they don't have many incredible eras. This is a short one because we're only talking 2022, 2023 to now. But the men and the women are just doing things that they've never done before. And to win 2-0 in India is a remarkable effort. Forget the Gambia stuff and the all-rounders and the whatever.
Phenomenal.
It's just brilliant, right?
Yeah. And what you got to love about this side is everyone seems like they're like a proper unit. When you look at this side, the energy that they play with as well. For me, the standout has been, say, a senior pro like Keshav Maharaj has been able to play second fiddle to Simon Harmer and very happily play a second fiddle to Simon Harmer. That tells you a lot about the health of a side, right? It tells you that, hey, this is a very secure team who care about winning more than anything else. And you want individuals like that to be a part of your side. Right now, how they deal with success once they achieve, now that they've become a number one test squad, and how they do well in the cycle as well matters in the long run. But how they deal with it will reveal how well they do for how long, like how well they do and for how long.
Yeah.
Right. But this side at this point in time, everything's working for them.
I think that's a fascinating one. As they get better, and like Temba has been pushed as the star, and you've probably seen the New Balance ads and all this sort of stuff, and and the players obviously adore him.
Deservedly so as well. But
oh no, 100%. But my point is, other people will start to want to be paid more, and other people will want the big endorsement deals, and Maharaj might start to look over his shoulder and everything. Like, these things are a natural part of how teams evolve sometimes, and Temba is the perfect person to keep a lid on all that. But sometimes you can't, right? Sometimes a certain person comes into the change room because he's needed in the team, and he destabilizes things. And so it might be their best era of success, but it's still only 2.5 years, 3 years of this. How they continue to go forward, because we saw Pakistan a couple of years ago under Misbah have this incredible moment. We saw New Zealand grow slowly, but then get to that brilliant but it's hard to do it for like half a generation, let alone a whole generation like India just did, or South Africa did back in 06-14.
Yeah, it is hard to do for sure, and you need a lot of moving pieces that work well together consistently for a period of time, and that all roots from communication, setting standards, staying true to them, definition of roles, providing security. It's like running a corporation, right? And you want to make sure that at every level everything is working well, and you need one guy to oversee the whole thing consistently for a period of time to see that come out of success. And then sometimes it does devolve over a period of time, and then how do you move those lesser working pieces and replace them with the right pieces that can propel that forward?
I think I'm being subtweeted here by Robbie because my organization's not good enough. All right, let's move on to some super chats here as well. Probol says, Robin, you chasing the total in India versus England 6th ODI right before the 2017 20 World Cup is what got me hooked on cricket. Thank you very much for your super chat. There you go. It's all coming back. How'd you go that day? Hitting him all right? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, yeah, I remember that one. I wasn't supposed to play that match. I got into the squad. Dinesh Karthik was supposed to play ahead of me. Dinesh was playing. I'd played in that. That was the first match I played in that 7-match series against England, and that was the 6th match. I got picked in the 11 on the behest of 4 or 5 seniors speaking to Rahul right before the toss. So literally 5 minutes before the toss, or at the toss, just before the toss, is when I got to know that I was going to play the game. I was not supposed to play the game. And they just played me because they was really impressive the previous day at the nets. They really enjoyed the way I played, because that was developing that walking down shot to the fast bowlers and all that. And that was the day I actually tried it out to all of our main fast bowlers, to Zach Bhai, Ajit Bhai, RP Singh, Srishant, all of these guys. I tried it out actually against these guys, and then I was like, okay, now I can take this to the World Cup. And so 5 minutes before I got told that I'm playing the game, and then I got a play at number 8, I think. And then when I went into bat, we needed 83 of 8 overs, which in 2006 was like a done and dusted match. And so Mahi and I were batting together when I went in a bat. When I went in a bat, Mahi he was like, let's just take this to 4 overs and see where it is, and let's build a partnership and see where it is. I think we needed 45 or 50 in 4 overs, and we pulled it off. And he got out with 2 overs to go. I needed about 26 in 2 overs. I just felt like when he got out, I actually thought I'd feel less confident, but when he got out, I actually felt more confident that I'm going to win this game. It was funny. And then it was a phenomenal feeling, dude, that match. Thanks for that, Prabal. It just made me relive that whole memory again.
Oh, wait. Sorry, wrong click. Sharon says, Robbie, what is your view that there is talk that Gambia keeps on bringing nationalism to talk to aspire players in the team? How true is that? You worked with him for many years. We'll take your opinion on that.
Sharon, honestly, I don't know what he says because when I worked with him more from a franchise perspective. When we played a bulk of our cricket together, we played very little. We played very little of India and India A together. We played actually a fair bit, but outside of that, and he was not in a leadership position at that point in time. When he was in leadership position, when I played with him, was more for franchise, and he was a very good leader as far as franchise cricket is concerned. There are times where his communication as a leader would feel like, okay, he could do a little bit more, but when he did speak to players one-on-one, he was really, really good. He was very empathetic. He spoke really well to them. He spoke my experience with him one-on-one was far greater than my experience of him in a group. I felt in a group, he always tried to motivate people, and then actually speak from a place sometimes of vulnerability as a leader. When leaders speak from vulnerability to a group, it's easier to rally people up together because you become human in front of your peers as a leader, and you're not speaking from a point of on a pedestal. You're actually speaking to them where they are, right? And I think a lot of players, a lot of teams like to be met where they are, and then everyone can rally together and go up together and make that journey together. I think a lot of teams enjoy that.
I also think that there's always a limit to just motivating people. Like, I know that sounds wrong, but like at a certain
100%.
point, like
100%.
once you've heard it's like you gotta run through a brick wall for your nation. It's like, okay, but at the moment I'm having trouble nicking off outside off stump. Can you help me with that? That was the whole Darren Lehman thing. It was one of the reasons that some of the players had issues with Darren Lehman and Justin Langer. Was like they were like all about do this for the baggy green, and they're like, yeah, guys, we're having trouble with like facing spin at the moment. Can we work on the technical stuff?
Talk about that.
So you've got to understand that modern professionals aren't the same as fans, right? It's a very different kind of way. Andy says, if it's process over results, Gambia erred in T20, shoehorning Gill for marketing reasons and moving a lot of bats out of position.
We don't know if that was a Gautam Gambhir decision or a
reasons.
BCCI decision or a selector's decision. So we can always sit outside here. We can always sit outside here and speculate, right?
Yeah.
But like Shubman Gill getting in that T20 side, pushing say Sanju Samson out from the top from the opening position down in the middle order, and now out of the ODI side, for me that does not augur well for you in the long run. You have to understand that this is a team sport, and it's about bringing people together. And if you're creating insecurity, if you're breeding insecurity, it's going to affect not just one person, it's going to affect the entire side, and it's going to impact the performance of a side over a period of time. So you really need to be careful about how you communicate things to a side when you are selecting sides, because when you are selecting teams, you are clearly communicating to a whole group as to what your mindset is.
No, 100%. I that's one thing I wouldn't blame Gambia on, because I think that's a BCCI thing, honestly. I mean, as Robbie said, it's still his job to sell it, but of all the things that we will happily lay at his feet, I wouldn't put that one there. Prudvim says, I want NKR to succeed. Are these excursions harmful more than helpful? Right now, looking from outside, NKR is being played randomly, which will destroy his confidence and perception of him from outside as well. This is what we would call the Moeen Ali rule, right? Of like, you've got this player who's really helpful in your side, and you're just like, oh, but he can do this, and he can do this, and he can do this. And in the end, he's like, like Moeen Ali didn't know what he was by the end of his career.
They ruined Moeen Ali, right? They ruined Moeen Ali's test career. I think he would have been such an amazing, he would have been like I may be overshooting here a little bit, but he could be a Jacques Callis level kind of all-rounder for you at number 3, number 4, with his spin prowess, right? Like like when I say,
I think
when I'm
I don't
drawing
think he could ever
parallels,
bat that high. I think he would have had to bat 5 or 6. But I still agree with you in general.
I genuinely think he would have been a proper number 4, number 5 batter. Maybe not number 3, but number 4, number 5 for sure. And he could have played. And the thing is, you could never get the best out of Moeen Ali because you moved him around so much.
He
in
batted
Test
at
cricket.
8.
Yeah, it was horrible.
I
what they did
remember
to
him. I remember him talking sort of off the record to us at one stage about batting at number 8, and he was sort of saying, actually, it might have been to George DeBell. George might have told me this one, but he was basically saying, "I don't know how to bat at number 8. Like, should I be slogging? Like, how do I get in?" And it's like he honestly he's a professional batter until the age of 26, right? When he starts to become a bowler, and suddenly he's playing in a Test match, not knowing how to bat because they've put him in such a random position. Right, like, and it was the same when he opened. Again, he's like, "Well, do they want me to attack? Do they want me to bat like a normal opener?" He just never felt comfortable.
Yeah, bizarre what they did with him.
Whereas if you compare that to Jadeja, I thought India maybe took a little bit too long to trust Jadeja, but they basically said, "You're a bowler, right, and your batting will come on." And so he knew what it was. He knew what it was. Then he could move up slightly in the order. Then he could move up slightly in the order when things came in.
Then you develop him, right? Then you're developing him.
He knew.
Like
Vittori. Vittori does the same thing, right? Vittori
exactly, right?
starts as a bowler and then eventually ends up. Yep. Right. I think that's the way to do it. Now.
Yeah.
That's hard. The issue really is that Gambia wants so many all-rounders and India have so many all-rounders that there's almost an issue here of what happened with South Africa in the 90s where they're not putting their best team out on the board, on the field, because they have so many all-rounders and they're trying to juggle them all around each other, right? Like, I think we just did a video the other day of like, Lance Kluser clearly was just a number 6. And if he bats at number 6 for South Africa with Callis at number 4, they're unbeatable that side. They don't need to worry about all these other bits and pieces players, right? They had so much flexibility, but they wouldn't use him. They kept using Kluser as a bowler when he was a batter, right?
Yeah.
And in his mind, if you go back and you talk to Callis, he will say, I think even to this day, he never really believed he was a batter. He averages like 45 or 46 or something in first-class cricket, Robbie. This isn't like, and they're batting him at number 8. Wow. Like, just use him as a batter. Just understand that he has developed and he now needs to change. And so this is just one of the issues with all-rounders is that they are so freakishly talented, and you know it's going. You assume it's going to come good for you, and it's going to be revolutionary. But when you have multiple ones, there is a clutter.
Yeah, there's a clutter, absolutely. I think with NKR, speaking to NKR right now, I would say if they use him and create that perception and narrative that he's a batter who can bowl for us, so he's going to bat for us at number 6, and then he'll bowl 10 to 15 overs for us every innings, then you're giving him time to develop as a bat and focus as a batter, and then develop as a bowler, right? And you give him a defensive role, which is what Jadeja did for India growing up, right? Like initially he played, like especially in tests abroad, he played the filler role, right? He bowled the overs that Dhoni wanted there to be quiet time in a test game. Like he'd finish an over in 2 minutes and come and just bowl flat balls and get them, just bowl the right areas, just get them to defend, finish, move, defend. So he's like a filler bowler at that point when he started off. Then he developed himself, and then when he came to India, his role is very clear. You bowl to get wickets, don't give the batters time. Right, the role being defined becomes very, very clear, and I truly hope for someone like NKR, his role is being defined and the narrative is set. Because right now, it's the narratives that are set that forms everything in cricket. Right, today we're talking like a narrative is set against GG right now, so the narrative is flying. Right, a narrative is set about the Indian cricket team not knowing how to play against spin, which is why that's moving forward. So then you set narratives for, and you have the luxury to set narratives for particular players, right?
No, exactly.
Now the offsets of that are the ones that you try to set the narrative that Shubman Gill's a 3-format player, but that didn't stick. Because what has been done with that has you've pushed someone like Sanju Samson out so far out of the system, despite having solid performances, that people are standing up and taking notice.
Yeah. No, look, and it's tough. Juggling these sorts of things are really tough. To be fair, as a team. Yeah. Charlotte says, "What about domestic talents like Yash Rathod? I don't think you need to just start plucking random people and putting them in. The talent for me is not the issue here."
Yeah. Talent is not an issue. I think there's talent, but I think you need consistency as well to develop a good side.
Nikhil says, as a fan, I don't mind losing, but it sucks to see him not even give a good fight. So here's something I want to say, because I know what Robbie will say. I have seen teams give up before, right? Many
Yeah.
times in my career. I did not watch this last test match going, oh, India has given up, right? This was not a game where they weren't fighting or anything. I know fans think that way when their team's losing, but
Yeah.
there is so Deepak, our man, first umpire, you should have seen him on at the start of day 2, Robbie. He's like, they're giving up, they're not trying, blah blah blah. And I was like, have you ever stood in the field for 2 days and then gone out to bat on the 3rd day? Do you know what happens? You get jelly legs. And if you don't believe me, look at the entire history of cricket. You can see it happening again and again. Now, don't get me wrong. They should be in the firing line. They're not making runs consistently. All these sorts of things. But I have seen a lot of players sort of say, oh, they didn't give it a good fight or they weren't trying hard enough. It's like that. I didn't look at this cricket and as an independent person think that's what was happening here. I just think that they look lost is what I would say.
Correct. That's exactly what it is. I think it seemed more directionless, and they were just, you know, they weren't moving. They were being carried by everything that was happening to them.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely that case. Sorry, let me bring the next one up. Batman says, Jared keeps saying no one is making runs at number 3, but New Zealand averaged over 50 in the last 5 years. Kane and Young both did well. Yeah, I mean, you are right. There is a single team making runs at number 3. I'm sort of saying overall, it's been a tough position. Teams are punting it. I think if I'm not mistaken, is it Afghanistan as well? Let me get the numbers up. Yeah. Last 5 years, New Zealand has averaged 62, which is ridiculous because Williamson hasn't even always been available. Afghanistan is the only other side averaging over 40. Every other team in Test cricket is averaging beneath 40 in a position where you used to put your best player. That is a drastic change, and we need to understand that when we are looking at these overall things. India has averaged 31, which is the same as Bangladesh, and they're just above Zimbabwe on the table. So to what Robbie was saying before, they're right down towards the bottom. By the way, the West Indies, what do you think the West Indies average in the last 5 years of Test cricket at number 3 position, Robbie?
I don't know.
Come on, just give us a number.
This is just a shot in the dark. What? 18?
It's 19. That's a very good shot in the dark. This is the country of George Headley, Viv Richards, and Brian Lara, 3 of the greatest number 3s of all time, are averaging 19 when they at first drop at the moment. Rohit says, VVS for Test coach. Serious loss shows Ash importance.
What is Ash? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
As in see, the thing is, you have to understand that, like, it's also, people have strong personalities, right? It's also about making things work from that perspective as well. And people have also earned their stripes. Say, for example, the likes of an Ashwin, for him calling time in his career because he went to Australia and didn't play the first Test match. And he had, I think, one of his very first lean Test series in India against New Zealand. It was a very ordinary series, and the first time I saw Ashwin having a lean series in India, right? And immediately after, when you drop him, and for someone who's done so much for Indian cricket, and I genuinely believed he was going to beat Anil Kumble's record of the highest wickets taken by an Indian in Test cricket. Genuinely, I actually thought he was good to go for another 2 or 3 years. So for me, his retirement came as an absolute shock to me. But
Agree.
I understood, and I can understand when you've achieved so much, when you're the best bowler in the country and one of the best bowlers in the world, and you've developed yourself into one of the best all-rounders in the world. If you're going to be left out on an away tour, you'll run out of patience, man. And you need to manage these things, right? And think as a coach, these are things of learning for, say, someone like Gautam Gambhir, if he wants to be a coach for the next 10 years in his life, for the next 15 years.
I think the way that cricket does these things is wrong as well. In that I can't remember who I was chatting to, but I think it was on another show where I was talking about the fact that you really shouldn't be letting Jimmy Anderson and Ashwin leave when they can still take Test wickets, right? What you have to do is try and manage their expectations of, like, look, we're not going to play you for the next 6 months. Let's just be clear on that. But we might want you again at home, right? We're playing South Africa. They're playing good cricket at the moment, so we might want you again at home. can we do this so that you're available for 2 to 3 tests a year when we need you, and then to see how that goes. But that's not how we really think about cricket at the moment.
Yeah,
You're
we're
either
very
in the side or you're
short-sighted,
out
I
the
think,
side.
with cricket.
Yeah.
Like Jar, we've become really short-sighted as a generation. I think we're not, and also there's so much cricket happening that you're not looking at, okay, what are the plans over the next 5 years? Who are the players
Yeah.
transitioning out? Who do we have to transition into this side? Right? Can we phase this out? Like that long-term perspective is not there, and everyone's always like they're always measured by how they're doing over a very short term period of time.
Agreed.
Like today, no one's talking about, hey, in the time that he's actually been there, forget red ball cricket, but in white ball cricket he's been really, really good, right? So, and some things have worked for him. Like what can we as supporters of this Indian side share with Gautam Gambhir that it becomes food for thought for him as far as red ball cricket is concerned? Right? Can we be constructive with what we say to him? Like, and this I mean, right from the start, from the administrators to his peers, to his fans, to his naysayers, everyone. Like, what can be communicated to him from a long-term perspective? Well, not like even in cricket today, everything has become really short-term. Like everything has become like the attention span, like everything has just become short-term. You cannot build things over a period of time when this is your perspective. You need to have a larger perspective in mind.
A great detailed answer from Robbie there.
VVS for test coach, I think
Just
it'll
because
happen.
he didn't want to
after a
talk
period of
about
time.
the VVS for test coach question.
No, I think it'll happen. It'll happen. I think it's meant to
Ooh.
happen. I thought it was actually supposed to happen after Rahul Dravid. To be very honest, I thought, actually the time when Rahul Bhai became coach, I thought was the time for VVS VVS Lakshman to become coach of the Indian side, because Rahul Bhai was the head of the NCA, and then I think VVS was coaching India A and all of that, was running a lot of the A cricket and all of that. So I thought he was going to transition in the India coach after Ravi Shastri's tenure, and then Rahul Dravid came in. So he was VVS Lakshman was given head of NCA, which is what has become. And then after Rahul Dravid's tenure, I actually thought VVS Lakshman is going to actually take over Indian cricket as a coach, because it seemed like the natural transition. And then I think Gautam Gambhir came completely left field, more of a BCCI decision perhaps. And then because of his success also with KKR.
There was a lot going on too, wasn't it? Because they were talking to overseas coaches at that point. So there was,
Yes.
I think they got themselves a bit confused. Whereas actually, as you said, maybe the most obvious thing was just to be like,
overseas coaches were just a conversation. But
Yeah,
I think
I think there was, my point is, I don't think they had a clear plan of exactly what kind of coach they wanted, why they wanted a particular kind of coach. And then Gambia was the right person at the right time because they'd had success everywhere else. But my point being
like
is,
honestly, if you
it didn't
ask me,
it didn't look like a clear path to him, did it? It looked like well, where are we? Okay, it's him.
we'll navigate through it, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think India, like, even for the Indian team and for the amount of cricket that Indian team play, it would augur well for them to have both a separate red ball coach and a white ball coach.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we all believe
they
that.
play too much. They play too much cricket, man.
There's no team in the world that I think needs all three. It's such a hard job as it is without worrying about that. Tessie says, Tristan Stubbs showed a shit ton of patience yesterday, except when he swiped across the line to get his 100. I was always really high on Tristan Stubbs as a potential test player, probably higher on him in that than I ever was in T20. T20, I was like, I'm not sure what role he's going to be best in and how he's going to develop. But I was saying years ago, just get him in the side, because when you pick the ball up as early as he does and you back yourself, and it's quite a repeatable way he bats, there's flaws within his game. I think it's worth him coming in and averaging 35 in Test cricket for 4 years, because the next 5 to 8 years, he could go absolutely ballistic. So I'm glad that we're seeing some success from him. Again, he's another player who's been jumping around the order a little bit, and he's had some issues, but I think he's a really high quality
Consistency
player.
in Test cricket. You really need consistency in Test cricket.
Well, it's consistency of role, right? Like, it's like, are you comfortable doing the things that we're asking you to do? Aish says, missing long-term planning. GG keeps playing best 11s, causing injuries, burnout, and zero tested bench strength, especially in both pace and spin. I'm not sure he's causing injuries, is he? Am I missing something?
Not causing injuries.
That seems like a bit of a jump.
Burnout and zero test bench strength.
Prud says, Messi used to walk about the pitch and choose his moments of high intensity when he felt he needed to run and press. And more often than not, he used to score in the second half a lot more. Attritional football. So there is. I remember hearing this great story between these two Aussie rules legends, and one of them said what Messi does, and he said, "Isn't it great when you're just out there and you can relax and you can take it all in, and then you know it's your turn to shine." And the other guy's like, "No, I'm going at 100% the entire time, every single moment. I never enjoying any of it because I'm like going through every single thing." Everyone finds their own way of success and understands how to do these. So it's very, you have to find your method, right? And for Messi, that makes a lot of sense. And if he was able to be less tired at the end, he's going to be able to outrun some defenders who've been maybe sprinting earlier on. But that's also because he's so much more talented than everyone else. He can try that.
Yeah.
A normal player is probably already being yanked off the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about how well you know your game, and how well you figure out a method to your madness to be successful. And I think there are different ways to slice a cake. You just have to figure out what your way is.
Radical. Rinku as batting all-rounder in domestics.
Radical, truly. Sid. No, let's not go there. Yeah, he averages about 50, above 15 in first class cricket, but he hasn't been picked for stuff. But he's not an all-rounder. His bowling's never going to be up to scratch. So you'll have to look at him as a pure batting option. I think it'll cause more confusion at this point in time.
Akshay has sent in a super chat. Raksha, if you could just see if you can find that one for us. Zizu says, do you think cricketers of lesser profile are scrutinized lesser and hence tend to work better under the radar as coaches? I think players who are less talented, who've had to get to the top level, have had to coach themselves in a way that really talented players. There aren't that many great players who become great coaches. And the reason is a lot of their natural ability is just a huge advantage over everyone else. Right, but
so
they
I'll
might
tell you
pick
one
the
of the
ball
things
up
that are
earlier.
completely left field. Like, I think one of the things that are completely left field when it comes to good coaches is that when they're not perceived as they're the best cricketers, right? So they've gone a significant amount of time not having the attention on them. So even though they know how good they are, so that fills them up with a lot of empathy, right? And that's why they're able to coach really well, because they use that side of them, the empathetic side of them, when they're operating with players. And that's what makes them know that it is a service-oriented job, so I need to give. So here I'm serving people. Like, if you don't understand that as a coach, as a mentor, that you're doing your job is a service. It's like you're doing hospitality for players. You're making sure that they are provided for, that they feel well fed, well equipped, confident about their skills before they go into every match. Your job is to serve them. So if you think that your job is to dictate terms to them, then you'll do less well as a coach. Like, the ones who do the best as coaches, they know that they are, like, even if they're at a position of strength, they know that they need to provide for the players the sense of confidence before they go into a match, whether it's through communication and it's got to be through communication and them feeling as well and as best prepared before they go into a game.
When I wrote the book, like when we talked, Kumar Sangakkara and Rahul Dravid were exceptions. But generally, when you talk to the best batters of all time, they are not very good at explaining how they make runs. The players who are really good at explaining it are that level below or 2 levels below, right? Those are the players who are much better. And also, just being good at a sport doesn't mean that you're good at communication. There are lots of people who are not Sachin Tendulkar, right, who are nowhere near his level as a player, but are really good communicators who also played a lot of cricket, right? So you have to understand all those sorts of things. Uday says, the anger towards Gigi is hypocrisy. Claiming domestic performances are crucial, demanding Virat and Rohit play it, but playing the likes of Sai and KR with little to no domestic record is the problem. Here's the thing, Uday. Welcome to fandom. I mean, that's how it works. Your team's losing, everyone's angry. That's literally. I remember I was hearing a podcast recently. I think it was a baseball podcast, and there was like a fan group that was going nuts, and the host was like, "Yeah, but they're supposed to go nuts, right?
Yeah.
In their mind, their team's supposed to win, and it's not winning. It's as clear as that. So of course, if you're looking for logical arguments here, you'll find a few fans that'll make some. You'll find a lot of fans will be like, oh, the problem here is that, they pick players from the wrong star sign, or the problem here is they pick too many players from this area, not this area. They pick too many young players, they pick too many old players, they pick too many not good players, they pick too many left-handers. That's what fans do. That's why it's so much fun. Not for Robbie,
Yeah,
but for the
it's hard to have a Sid. But it's hard to have to have that perspective when you are at the center of the vitriol, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because today I'm trying to sit in say I'm trying to sit and say uh, let's just say Gigi shoes, or when I sit in those shoes and listen, and I'm listening to people saying things, right? People trolling him, people creating, they're making YouTube videos about, how he's the worst coach and this and that, right? But they're not and if I have to sit in Gigi's shoes and just navigate through one of those videos, I'd be thinking like, right, okay, and I have to, if I can't perceive this as fandom, it would break me. It would absolutely break me.
Yeah.
Right? Because the kind of stuff that's being said right now is just like, what? It's just appalling. It's just unfortunate. It's just sad. And everyone seems to be buoyant about it and they're just adding on to the fuel to the fire, which I think, like, if you are doing it, try and be constructive with it. Like, tell him what he can do right now.
Exactly. It could be worse because England if England could lose this series, I think that's even going to be a more dramatic thing because they put all their eggs in one basket and they're 1-0 down. They've still got a chance of fighting back and they still could make it. But also Australia could completely dominate them in this series and their entire belief system as a new cricket culture will come down. Actually says
Akshay, 100%.
World Test Final as series as home away and neutral. Okay, there's a reason why this doesn't exist. Everyone who has been involved with the World Test Championship understands that it should be more than one game, right? It should be 2 games or 3 games. The issue with all this is that it's already a tight fit to get it into the schedule. And if you make it even longer, it becomes more of an issue. The truth is that the WTC...
Fuck that, man. If you want to actually keep this alive, then you actually have to make it...
Well, what I was going to say is, it's what we were talking about with first class cricket again. The problem is we are trying to retrofit things into the way that cricket is already run, despite the fact that we know the cricket is already run poorly, right?
Yeah.
So I get about every 3 days, someone will email me, Robbie, with a new plan for the WTC. And I was like, there's none of these ideas that don't have merit. It's just that you've got to understand that they would have to scrap everything and start again. And that's not what they want to do. We've had plenty of chances in cricket to scrap things and start again. And instead, what do? We add on here.
Bro,
we add on
I
here.
I remember seeing someone release the one-day cricket scheduling 2-3 years ago till 2028 or 2029 or 2032 or something like that. I'm like, why are they planning one-day cricket till 2032? Why aren't they transitioning cricket into what it is today, and then keeping 2 formats absolutely alive and one just played like football plays the World Cup, right? Like they just played, and you play the qualifiers, you play things to qualify, and then you qualify, and then you play the World Cup, and you're done with that. So you played in between what football actually is today. So it's actually league football, and then in between that you play qualification for the World Cup, and then you play that World Cup, right? And that's how, like, if you, like, when does cricket actually move to that? Like,
well, I can tell you this.
Time cricket moves to that.
2023, there were serious conversations about whether they'd ever have another 50-over World Cup, right? They were really looking at moving on from 50-over cricket, and that tournament banged, right? And got them lots of numbers and lots of views and lots of sponsorship.
It would bang because it's played in India. Like, see, we have
you
to
and I understand
that
this, right?
Like, a lot of this stuff is based on the business numbers, right? But
of course, it's all based on...
But that's the thing. If they even base what they're going to do on business numbers and what it can potentially be, like you play a long-term valuation-based play as far as what cricket is going to be like, right? They're not using the foresight of what has already happened over the last 20 years with league cricket, right? And then forward thinking that the next 20 years as to if you amplify that in the right way, what it can potentially be. It could be 10x the valuation of what cricket is today if it's done right.
If cricket was just run correctly. If cricket was just I've never seen a sport leave as much money on the table as cricket and then tell us that everything is done for business reasons. Right? It's the combination. This is what I have.
It's overflowing from the table, bro. It's all over the ground right now.
When we were doing the film, Death of a Gentleman, like, you know, the big thing was, you don't understand the business. So I went and learnt the business, and I came back to them and said, this doesn't make business decisions. This doesn't make business sense. Let me talk about. And then no one wanted to answer any questions after that, Robbie, because once you point out that they're not even doing good business, there's nowhere for them to go. Abhilash says, everyone wants VVS as coach. I mean, I'm ambivalent, but maybe everyone else. But nobody realizes that he doesn't want it. To be fair, Rahul Dravid didn't want it either. He probably doesn't want to travel. These petty politics of BCCI are tough. Yeah, I mean,
And
there
not
isn't
just the
that
politics of BCCI, Abhilash. It's also the fandoms, right? Like the criticisms that every coach has to go through. Like it is, you think it is easy? As in, like today, a lot of the guys who are trolling Gautam Gambhir haven't played 2 days of professional cricket or 20 days of professional cricket. They don't know what it takes to stand 2 days in the field during the course of a test match and then come and bat, right? So a lot of these guys don't understand, and then cricketers have to navigate through that all over again post their cricketing careers, playing careers are over, and where it's taken a lot out of them mentally, emotionally to navigate through that and have a cricketing career. Now to put themselves through that whole thing all over again is not something anyone wants to go through. You think Rahul Dravid didn't know that he was going to be trolled when he said no to that, no to the coach opportunity? He knew that. That was a part of why he made that. He initially said no, right? And then he said yes. And then he went through it. We made him go through it. Like, that's the thing we need to understand as fans. There is a certain line we shouldn't cross. You have to have constructive criticism. If you are going to have criticism, let it be constructive. Like, let it come from a place that augurs, like, that does well. You as a human being don't want to be banged down to the ground where you feel absolutely hopeless, where you have to stand up and defend yourself at all points in time. Yeah. You're human. You are going to make mistakes. You're a coach of a team. You are going to make mistakes. You don't want to be broken down as a human being completely where you can't look at anything else, where everything, if you open your eyes, everything that you can see is only hate. That is not necessarily a good place to be at.
Yash Rathod is not a random for Indian cricket. Well, he is a random because you're talking about someone from outside the squad. And that's what I'm saying is him coming into the squad is not the difference between them losing 2-0 to South Africa and not losing 2-0. That's what I'm trying to say. Because this is what fans do, Shaz. They go, what about this other guy? The issue isn't the guys. Yeah. The issue at the moment is the style of cricket they're playing, the fact that they haven't made runs for a long time, their ability with spin, the fact that overseas spinners have worked out how to play in India. All these different things are happening, and the team hasn't not quite come together. That is the issue. There's no magic guy outside this team that makes this team whole again, is what I'm trying to say. So that's when I talk about random guys, that's what I mean. Ammon says there should be an apprenticeship sort of program to bud young players with experienced ones before transitioning like journeyman trades. So this is something you do actually see in cricket anyway, right? Like in the old days, they used to do it in hotel rooms where you would get a young player and an older player to do that. There are some franchise leagues that do it for dinners and lunches with players. So this actually does exist, but yeah, it could be stronger, I would say, in some situations. The Shunak says, more than GG, the spotlight should be on Mornay and Kotak. Washi in a presser said the team had no batting plans. So I've got no problem with batting coaches and bowling coaches being in the spotlight. But remember, who was the person who brought them in and wanted them in those positions as well?
So I would be the wrong person to answer this question because I would love to be a batting coach. So I would like, and Coach C is a very dear friend of mine. So I'm staying out of this.
And I would love to be the bowling coach. So I don't want to slag off Mornay more. Hannibal says, Jared, do you think England can win a test? Oh, for sure. I think this is my theory coming in.
You're part of the England we right now, Jared?
No, I think he's saying we, as in he's English is my.
No, he said when he said we, I think he included you because he was asking you.
It's not me. I don't care if they win or lose. I think if you have a situation where this series was, I think the teams are quite evenly matched. And so the most likely result was probably 3-2 Australia or 3-2 England. If you just go through all the numbers, everything. The one thing I wrote an article for The Cricketer where I said those are the two most likely results, but the third most likely result is still 5-0. Because once Australia get in front, it doesn't matter if the teams are even. This last test match was essentially won by Stark, Boland and Head, almost on their own. And that's the issue when England go to Australia. And a lot of teams, when they come to Australia win test matches with like 2 and 3 guys all the time. They've won an entire series where the whole team hasn't played particularly well, and they've still won at 5-0 because Mitchell Johnson, Brad Haddon, and Ryan Harris have been incredible, right? Like, they don't need a whole team to be good at home, which is why they're so hard to beat. And, and why England are quite a well-rounded team in some ways. Maybe not the spinner, but in other ways they're quite well-rounded. But they still have holes in their lineup. They still have Zach Crawley and Ollie Pope at the top. They still have Shoaib Bashir as their spinner. you have to be so. If you go back to like some of the Border Gavaskar teams or the South African teams or the 10-11 England teams, these are quite often teams that don't actually at that stage have a glaring weakness outside of all the injuries that India ended up with, but they don't have a glaring weakness in their lineup, right? Yeah. And that's why when a one player goes nuts against you, you can kind of do that. But it is funny when you go through the history of Australian cricket, how often they've managed to do that before. Yes says, do you think India will get Jinx back into Test cricket?
Well, see, there are a lot of things that one can do. Now, if you bring Jinx back into cricket, into the Test squad, and for the rest of the this cycle, and he doesn't do really well, or if he does really well also, and he finishes this cycle on a high where he does exceptionally well, but the team is still not doing very, very well. He's already 38, 39 then. So what happens? Are you going to transition him out and bring another new player?
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
These are questions that one really needs to ask themselves before considering a senior pro, because you can go either ways and there's nothing wrong with that. But what are you left with after the fact? And what is the purpose of bringing him back? Are you bringing him back as a coach come player to develop your middle order players? Then it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Where he
there is
plays
an
a
element
few
of that,
matches,
isn't there?
doesn't play. Yeah.
If you had him in the squad as a player,
yeah,
and you only play him in series where things are going horribly wrong. This is what I was saying before of using your talent more efficiently. Was it Gareth Batty when he was about 40 made a comeback for England, right? No one thought Gareth Batty was going to be the frontline spinner, but Moeen Ali needed someone in the middle to talk to him about spin at times, because Moeen Ali is still learning his craft because he was late to spin. And so that sort of stuff is really, really important, but it's hard to do. I think we've come a long way, though, from the Indian fans all saying that Ajiki Rahane should be dropped to bringing him back at this stage. I'm pretty sure, Robbie, that Ajiki Rahane...
How long has it taken? 2 years?
Yeah, it's maybe 3 years. I think Ajiki Rahane was the first player that I was ever accused of taking money from to write something positive about them. And my question to you, Robbie, is how much should I ask for? Because I am available on the market if people want me to write nice videos about them. So maybe Robbie could help there. Oh my God. All right. Robbie, Harsh says, I want to know why Rutu is not considered in any format. Will he be a good number 3 in any format? In ODI, he won't get a chance in playing 11. Yes or no? Do you have him or not?
I would have him again with clear perspectives and understanding as to what his role is, what he's going to perform, and then a period of time where he's going to be performing that particular role for me. There's a choice of players that you can pick from, Harshit. You can actually pick from the likes of Abhimanyu Ishwaran, Ruturaj Gaikwad, N. Jagadisan. Yes, he is in the squad against South Africa, but he's in the one-day squad, and Harshit is saying he won't get to play against South Africa because of the makeup of the team. He probably will not get a play against South Africa, even though he's scoring some prolific runs in the ODI format at this point in time, or one-day format at this point in time. So there are a lot of players that you can pick. But if you pick 1 or 2 of them, then you want to give them an extended run. You don't want to just pick them for the sake of picking them and then run out of patience with them after 3 test matches if he doesn't perform well. You don't want stuff like that. You don't want something that happened to Karun Nair. Again, he didn't get a big score in the first 3 test matches against England. People are like, maybe he's not good enough at this level. Dude, he's averaging 52.
He's obviously good enough at this level.
He's obviously good enough. It's just about giving them a run long enough to allow them to thrive and feel a part of that environment again.
Sid again says, was GG considered a high-profile player in the Indian side, particularly prior to his 2011 final heroics?
Yeah, he was respected in the group as one player who would stand up and perform, and has had his own journey.
Batman says, in the past, GG commented a lot on Shastri and Dhoni.
Sure,
look, he was a talking head, right? And he said things.
He was.
Yeah, and he's part of the machine.
Enough to receive it as well. Yeah, correct.
And as we've said today, there are plenty of things worth discussing with him as well. But this is not just on Gambhir. There's a lot of things going on, and I think that's worth remembering as well. Anyway, me and Robbie are done physically, emotionally, as men. As friends, as business partners, all these different things.
What?
I don't know. I got into a bit of a flow state there. 1 hour and 44 minutes into our podcast. we will be back again next week. There's this series is finished, but there's Ashes. Who am I talking about? West Indies play New Zealand coming up. There's plenty of stuff going around.
Oh, there's
we'll
India
be back.
playing South Africa.
Oh yeah, the ODIs.
The
That was the
ODIs
one.
and the T20Is. T20Is.
Wait, did you watch any
doing
of
the T20Is
Ireland,
now.
Bangladesh? By the way, like,
Bro. There are 364 days of cricket in a year. There's stuff that I'm actually.
did you watch
watching
any of
and
the
stuff I'm-
Ashes? Did you actually watch much of it?
I did. I
you
actually
did watch
I've actually followed a lot more of the Ashes than because of the timings. It was quite easy to watch both simultaneously.
Yeah.
And like the match got over in 2 days. No one's talking about the wicket. I'm talking about how great the cricket was to watch. And listen,
Well,
it
to
was
be
great
fair,
watch.
that's not true. Everyone talked about the wicket, despite the fact that on day one, 19 wickets should not have fallen, and the batters deserve a whole heap of flame there.
I don't think it's the wicket as much as how cricket's being played right now. that is why that much those many wickets are falling
It wasn't.
down in a day.
It really was. It was. I think it was a much harder wicket to bat on day two than it was on day one.
Yeah, it
Like a
was. Because you
really-
know why? But you know why? It's because on the first day is when the dents form. The second day, those dents are dried up. So those become actual dangerous spots and the ball actually fly out of.
The one thing I would also say is that Perth has like they just got a good mark back from the ICC. This is the second time they've tried to change what their wicket is, and they've stuffed it up, right? Like I'm not saying in this
I don't think
case
they
that day one was the issue, right? But I don't think they're quite getting these pitches right over there either. They're trying to change what the wicket does, and twice in Test matches they haven't got it right. Anyway, why would you make me talk
keep
about
going
this
on.
now, Robbie? It's over now. KimAppa is finished. Rakshit needs a shower. We'll see you again next.
You need to get your next podcast.
Probably. I don't even know. I might be on another podcast now, Robbie. Why won't Rakshit hit the end button?